All right, welcome back everyone to Jface Games. Today we're talking about my first issue running Draw Steel. Now, what I should point out is this is not an issue with the game per se. This is an issue with a dungeon master who's learning a new system. Because you're going to have your tendencies and the ways you want to play your games and the way you've probably run your games over time. And there's growing pains when you're learning a new system, especially a game that's got a lot of rules. And it's, anyways, I digress. Let's get into it. So typically when I run a game, I'm very much a yes GM. I want to, if my players are going to do something ridiculous and outlandish, I am all about it. If you want to, take this poison fruit and jam it into one of the enemies' mouths and make them swallow it, or if you want to swing from that and jump on this and dive in that, and if a player wants to do something ridiculous, I'm all about it. I want to try and mechanize it. And most games I've played that I'm familiar with, I can come up with it on the fly. Oh, it's this. Make this skill check. Make this real quick. Do that. Do this. And it doesn't feel like a challenge. Now, Draw Steel, we ran into one of these scenarios. We're running the Dealing Tomb. I play every Sunday, and we had our final encounter. It's actually this encounter, I'm pretty sure, on the cover. But we had our final encounter of part one of the Dealing Tomb, and it's kind of like a boss fight. And the part for me that was challenging is one of the players, they had a sneak. They were successfully sneaky coming up to the boss fights, and one of the players had a really cool idea where they, in essence, I'll describe the scenario. In essence, what they wanted to do was they have telekinesis, and they wanted to try and see if there was a knife on one of the goblins' minions that they could take up and launch at the big bad boss. Hopefully, I would assume making it also feel like the boss was stabbed by one of his minions and not by party members, and then maybe there's some infighting and blah, blah, blah. Awesome scene. The problem is where my brain was, because when you're going through the Dealing Tomb, it's a tutorial, right? And I don't want to show too much, but I'll show you this part right here. When you're going through this, it's very much a tutorial, and it's walking you through this, and you're going to see things like this, right? Where it's like, set up this encounter. This is a different encounter, but set up this encounter. If there's 6 heroes, add 2 goblins. If there's 4 heroes, remove 2 goblins. If there's 5, keep it as is. 3, blah, blah, blah. So it feels very like this is the balance, right? This is how you want to balance it. If you look in the monster manual, there is an amazing section on building encounters and balancing those encounters. However, if you've ever watched Matt Colville's videos, you know for a fact that he doesn't give a crap about balance. There's a cat here. Don't worry about that. He doesn't give a crap about balance, right? He says that he just builds the encounters, and that's part of the world. And that's how I kind of feel too. Like, you just, as a DM, a lot of times you just say, this is how many goblins are probably here because that's what's going down. Not, let me think exactly what it's going to be to balance this to make it a very equivocal fight. Sometimes you do that. Yeah, I'm sure. But you don't have to think in those terms all the time. So we get to this final encounter, and my brain is locked in on, I really want to test this game because this is the first kind of boss fight, and we've got this balance, but the player has this cool idea. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with that cool idea. Anyways, the encounter ended up being amazing, and they had a lot of fun, but that stuck with me. It stuck with me, and I didn't like it, and so I started to try and think about what are solutions to this. What do you do in this game if you have players that want to ad-lib and, in essence, bend the rules or change the scenario around? How do you roll with the punches? In other games, I feel like I know how to do it well. In this game, I didn't know what to do. And I would love, if you've already gotten to this point in this game, leave comments about what you've done. Let me talk about some of the stuff I would probably do now, in hindsight. 1, we have heroic tokens. So heroic tokens are kind of like inspirations, right? It's supposed to be something you reward the players when they do something badass. And it's supposed to be this idea that it's a universal token. So you give it to the players, and any one of them can cash one of these puppies in at any point in time. But instead of just giving a heroic token, if you read these rules, heroic tokens can give you 2 surges, can make it so you automatically succeed on a saving throw, can make it so you can, in essence, get a reroll, or they can give you a recovery. So this right here, to me, is the game saying, hey, these are ways we're cool with breaking the rules. They just happen to have it in terms of a hero's token. But now, if I wanted to ad-lib that with the players, I could say, so let me put some context on where we were having this dissonance also when this happened, is when the player wanted to do this action, we were kind of looking at the mechanics of the game. We were saying, oh, if you're wanting to grab a knife with your powers, let's look at your actual heroic abilities. Oh, would that be a kinetic grab? And now we look at kinetic grab, and it says you're going to push this thing 2 plus your reason. And so we were trying to find what are the mechanics of actually doing this action, right? And it was getting almost, it was very undramatic, because if he was going to do what he wanted to do, it was going to be 2 push plus his reason, which here he is trying to make this awesome kind of scenario, and it was going to do like 4 damage. And it was like, I was having this problem saying like, this is what you probably could do with your power right now, but wouldn't you rather just push the dude? Like that's where I was having this breakdown. It was like, I think with your powers, I could make this happen, but it would also feel like a very underwhelming action, even though he's trying to do something dramatic. So one thing is I could say, let's just do that, but I'm going to give you plus 4 damage to it, because that's the equivalent of 2 surges, right? And I don't have to say I'm going to give you 2 surges. I'm just going to say, yeah, let's do that push, and then it's going to do plus 4 damage. You're going to throw that knife. You're going to get plus 2 as if someone were hitting a wall or an object, and you're going to get plus 4 damage on top of that. And they might be like, wow, that seems like a lot. All I'm doing is I'm rewarding that action as if I were giving him a hero token that was turned in for 2 surges. And then I could use any of these other things also to do it. Now, that would be potentially my solution if I were trying to stay within the confounds of the available actions in the available action economy. The other thing I could do is I could say, screw it, you're having a test, right? And if I'm doing a test, I could then just go to these test rules and say, this is going to be a medium test, because they had surprised them. And I'm going to do a medium test. This was the other challenging thing. The goblins don't have like items, and weapons don't have damage. So it's like when he was going to throw a knife, I was like, well, the goblins' stat blocks don't say anything about knives, and I don't know what a knife does, because everything's power rolls. So it's like, I don't know what a knife doesn't do a D4 in this game. It's weapons almost don't matter because it's kits. So I was having a lot of dissonance, right? But now I'd probably go back, and now that I know that 2 surges is 4 damage, and I've looked under the hood a little bit in terms of what average powers do damage-wise, maybe I would instead do a skill test and say, this is a medium skill test, and you can use whatever skill you think you have. You got some subterfuge, sort of sneaky type stuff, or persuasion, maybe something like that you're trying to convince them this is happening. And maybe I'd say a medium. And what I would say is that if you fail, your dagger misses. It's the first time a miss happens in the game, right? You don't get misses on power rolls. Your dagger misses, and you guys no longer have the surprise. They're going to go first. A success is you hit the goblin. It does. I just make up the number. It's going to do probably like 6 damage. Or you hit the boss. It's going to do like 6 damage, and he is also. But they're going to know. They're going to know that you guys did it. You'll still keep surprise, but they know it's in essence just a quick action. And then maybe on a super success, yeah, you hit the boss. The boss thinks the minion does it. He smashes the minion's head in, but then they look up and they see that you're here. Roll initiative, let's start the encounter. So you've eliminated a minion, you've hit the boss, but now we go straight into the action. I think that would be the biggest thing for me, is I got to get into the action in order to not have to also resolve more of these. Because now another player goes, oh, I'm going to do this now that's sneaky. Because then it might get a little, we might not be playing fully by the way the game is supposed to kind of evolve. So those are some of my thoughts. That's the dissonance I had. It was tough for me to get out of the mechanical mind. It was tough to me to not have a balanced encounter, because I wanted to test the wheels on this thing. I'm trying to take this thing for a drive, and it's like, I want to, see how tight I can make these turns type thing. But I think I would probably do a test now, and I'm glad that I've kind of really looked at hero tokens. I've looked at more powers to kind of get a gauge if I were going to make up a power or make up a result on the fly, I feel a little better about it. I would love to hear what you guys do in your encounters or in your sort of scenarios when you're having to kind of make up a ruling. I think the one thing that's really nice about this game is that the rules are pretty tight, which is a great thing because you don't have to feel like you have to make stuff up on the fly. But in those great scenarios where the players and you are wanting to make stuff on the fly, how do you guys do it currently? Those of you that have actually got a chance to test this game out.